So Trump visits the border, and it turns out that CNN's Jim Acosta becomes not only his biggest fan, but biggest supporter. In other news, Starbucks, turning its back on common sense, is now paying the price by having to install biohazard containers in some of its restrooms. And we'll end the week and our first week of shows with a special report from the Consumer Electronics Show where a Tesla has killed a robot. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
All right, we start off with President Trump. It's ongoing. The government continues to be shut down, and it's all because of border security, and in particular, the border wall. So Trump yesterday went down to McAllen, Texas, along with CNN crew and others, and held a roundtable discussion about the wall. He had a great meeting with Border Patrol officials, and here's some of what he had to say.
We're going to build a powerful steel barrier. They didn't want to use concrete. I said, okay, I'll use steel. It's stronger. It's also more expensive, by the way, but it's stronger. I'll use steel. So we'll call it a steel barrier. Now people should be happy. They said concrete. We don't want a concrete wall. I said, that's okay. We'll build a steel wall. I like it better if you want to know the truth, Ted. And we'll call it a barrier instead of a wall. And I'm okay with that, too. I don't care what you call it, but it's got to be there. Democrats have refused to listen to the border agents, and they say this is a manufactured crisis. That's their new soundbite. All over, I turn the television. You know, I call it the opposition party. It's called the fake news media. And what happens is every network has a manufactured crisis. This is every one of them. It's like they, send out to everybody, let's use this soundbite today.
So you notice one of the things that he hit on is the Democrats' talking point of this false narrative, this overblown crisis, this manufactured crisis. And he didn't stop there. He continued to hammer on these issues and point out exactly the facts that show that it is a real crisis. Here's more of President Trump.
The government shut down because Democrats will not fund border security, plain and simple. And again, more than just the walls. Their open borders agenda threatened all American families, including millions of legal immigrants throughout our nation. In the last 2 years alone, our courageous ICE officers, many of whom are with us, arrested criminal aliens charged with or convicted of 100,000 assaults. This is in the last year. 30,000 sex crimes and 4,000 violent killings.
So what's funny in all of this, he's saying the same things. He's showing the American people the facts so that they can make their decisions, contact their senators, contact their congressmen to get this funding for the wall passed. We need to get it passed. But lo and behold, CNN's Jim Acosta is walking the border in McAllen, Texas, and he tweets this out. Here's what he had to say. I found some steel slats down on the border, but I don't see anything resembling a national emergency situation, at least not in McAllen, Texas area of the border where Trump will be today. Now, whether he realized it or not, this is one of the best endorsements we've had from the border wall that I can remember. Forget the stats. If CNN's Jim Acosta is saying that I'm near a wall, and guess what? It appears to be safe. That's a pretty big endorsement of why we need a wall and the benefits of having a wall. Here's some of the people who jumped on this and just had a lot of fun with it. Representative Steve Scalise, who, as you know, was shot during the congressional baseball game by a freaked out Democrat. Here's what he had to say to Jim Acosta's comments. Glad to see the steel slats are deterring illegal immigrants from attempting to cross the border exactly as Donald Trump said they would. This is why we need to build a wall along the rest of the southern border. Hashtag walls work. Now, David Martosco of the Daily Mail had this to say in his tweet. Jim Acosta is at the border showing that organized, aggressive challenges to the U.S. border aren't happening at a place where there's a giant steel wall. Kind of makes sense, kind of obvious, but again, to CNN's Acosta, if he was looking for a way to blast Trump, he found the wrong way to do it. Here's Ben Shapiro over at Daily Wire, what he had to say. It's almost as though having steel slats might help prevent illegal immigration where you're filming. So thanks a lot, Acosta. You really helped our case, and it was a great way to end the week, seeing that you're as big an idiot as everyone thought you were. Now we got to move on. Speaking of idiotics policies, we got to go to Starbucks. And there's been a follow-up now to some of the fallout from their actions last spring in Philadelphia. And for those of you that don't remember, let me flash this up on the screen. There was this incident where, and we'll go step by step. So we have these two men that go into the restaurant. They ask to use the restroom, and the server says, you have to be a paying customer to use our facilities. And any of you who have traveled to, convenience stores or other places, many places have just an overt sign that says the same thing. I mean, the facilities are for paying customers. So that's all the server said, is you have to use be a paying customer to use the facilities. So instead of buying something, they sat down, didn't order, and just continued to sit there. So round two, the server went up to them again, said, hey, you guys are sitting here, you need to order something, you need to be a paying customer. They once again refused. So finally, they brought the manager involved, talked to the customers, they refused to pay, and finally called the cops to arrest them for trespassing because they're just loitering there. So, of course, Starbucks steps in, and did they defend the employees? No. They stepped back and said, the two men happen to be black, so it's got to be racism. Let's do some diversity training. Let's just jump head over heels into this policy, not stand by our employee, not stand by common sense, and implement a new policy, which means anybody and everybody can come into our facility. You don't have to be a paying customer. You can sit there, hang out, use the restroom, doesn't matter, don't have to pay. So what happened? Well, it became a den for the homeless and the drug users and all the dregs of society that are looking for a place just to hang out, and it became dangerous. And here's what Business Insider had to say with how Starbucks is reacting to the situation. Starbucks is installing needle disposable boxes in some bathrooms, as well as exploring other solutions to workers' concerns regarding improperly discarded syringes and the related health risks. More than 3,700 people signed a petition at coworker.org calling for Starbucks to place needle disposal boxes in high-risk bathrooms. Starbucks workers reported finding blood and needles in the bathrooms, as well as being pricked by improperly discarded needles, risking exposure to HIV and hepatitis. So once again, common sense has gone out the window. Rather than just having a basic policy that many restaurants and convenience stores and other places have, of if you want to come in, if you want to use our facilities, you're more than welcome. You just have to buy a paying customer. You be a paying customer. I know when I travel, I feel guilty if I'm on the road and need to make a pit stop only to use the restroom. I end up buying a bottle of water or a pack of chewing gum or something just because. But apparently, Starbucks went the other way around, and now literally you have employees going into restrooms and simply changing out the garbage bag from the bathroom garbage can and risking getting pricked by heroin needles and other devices like that. So it just really shows how crazy things have gotten and where common sense again has gone out the window. So please, a message to Starbucks: clean up the restrooms and clean up your act. There's nothing wrong with saying that you have to buy something in order to use the facilities. It's a business. You're there to sell coffee and danishes or muffins or whatever it is. Stick to that, and please get out of the social policy, because when you step into it, as the left often does, they don't see the common sense ramifications of what's going on. So finally, we want to end on Friday with a little news and notes from the Consumer Electronics Show, which wraps up today. It's been going on in Las Vegas, but it got off to a very controversial start. And there was a video that was released that showed a Tesla Model S killing a robot. That was the report. It drove by on its way to a reception or to an entrance of a hotel, and the robot died. It was damaged. It can't go on, and Tesla's the killer, ran off, didn't even stop. Here's a little bit of background. The robot is known as a promo bot, And here's, if you look at their website, here's what it has to say about, and here's a lovely picture of it. Here's what it has to say about a Promobot. Promobot is an autonomous robot designed for business purposes, is able to communicate with people on any topic, recognize faces, answer questions, move around avoiding obstacles, move its arms and head, show various materials on its display, and integrate with third-party devices and systems. So that's our poor robot that died from the dreadful Tesla killer. And here's the report that was in the Daily Mail. According to Promobot, a number of robots were making their way to the booth around 7 p.m. when one of them stepped out of line and into a parking lot roadway. As it did, it was struck by a Tesla Model S operating in autonomous mode. The crash tipped the robot onto its side, causing serious damage, Promobot says. Now, with parts of his body, head, arm mechanisms, and movement platform destroyed, it cannot be put on display. So, rather than just go by what they said, because I detect a little foul play here, a little shenanigans, take a look at the video. Here's the video of the Tesla killer. All right, so we need to take a look at this. You know, I'm not some kind of physics expert or rocket scientist. Actually, I am. So let's dive in this. Let's take a look at this video again. Okay, and let's look through it nice and slowly. You see it? There goes the Tesla going by, and there goes the robot. So let me just tell you, if a robot or any object is hit by a 5,000-pound vehicle, it's not just going to fall over with its happy face. It's going to spin. It's going to move in the direction of the vehicle, and it's going to crash. I don't care. You know, this is a parking lot, so what is the car going, 15, 20 miles an hour? It's going to do some damage, and it's not just going to fall over lightly like that. So I detect a little bit of PR stunt, little gamesmanship, and when I looked into it, I realized, of course, here's the problem. Take a look at this. Yes, Promobot has ties to the Russian government. It has ties to Vladimir Putin. And my thought is that it is trying to subvert the Consumer Electronics Show. It's trying to get in with foul play, sinister activities. So keep an eye on Promobot. It has ties to the Russians. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour.